episode 20 of Tyrant Podcast. Today I want to explain a little bit about Tyrant Empire. A lot of people within the community of Tyrant Empire have been a bit upset with the lack of progression as a project. Now, I kind of spoke on this the first few episodes, especially the first episode, because that was one of the primary reasons for starting this podcast, was to allow people to not only see what I'm doing and know why I'm doing it, but to let them know that, one, I'm a face behind the project, and two, just to allow people to, ask questions so I can address them consistently. But for whatever reason, people have only been messaging me in the designated Discord server for the Tyrant Empire, so I will, again, answer any questions you send me on that, but I also kind of want to speak to the camera about this as well. So, first off, the project is still going forward, not nearly as quick as you or myself would like. This is due to a number of things. The biggest one is due to the lack of initial capital we have to produce the things we have in our roadmap, which is the gaming hub and the casino aspect. Whereas the gaming hub is the most important part, in my opinion, because it'll allow us to implement the NFTs and the 3D models associated to such to the game hub, to where you can actually load up your NFT, which is tied to the 3D model, and use that 3D model in the game. Now, we do have one game, the concept of it basically done, the base mechanics done, but that's kind of the easy part, at least for me. But implementing that into, the Web3 space is going to require either a lot of time on my part, which as of late has not been possible, or us to outsource it to a team that I personally vetted to develop it, because they're talented, they're trustworthy, and unfortunately they are expensive. So the biggest roadblock in that aspect, as I mentioned, is capital. It's going to cost at least $50,000 to get this going. And there's one gentleman who is seemingly very unhappy with this, because he's invested a few $100s into the NFTs, and unfortunately, with our team member who left, who was responsible for delivering the 3D model, we can still produce a 3D model, but it's just going to be, just the file of the 3D model. You're not going to be able to do anything with it right out of the box unless you implement it into your own world or metaverse, I guess. If you have the capability to do that, we can do that. I mentioned this to him and yet to get a response. So I think he's just a bit upset. However, he did bring up the fact that there is another project who is continuously producing NFTs with the promise of something to, utilize these NFTs, which is kind of the standard for projects. That's kind of what investing is. You give a project your money in hopes that they use that money to produce something to not only make more money themselves, but to make the investors money, which is kind of an age-old thing. However, with NFTs, it is very different in a sense. There are so many projects who have just completely closed their doors, ran off with the money and such, and that is the exact opposite of what I plan to do. Now, I'm not totally opposed to, raising funds from the community to build these things. However, with the current state of things, it will still be slow, and I don't want, one, people to invest their money for something that may not produce the returns that they intend, because nothing is guaranteed. And two, it could, not be up to their what they expect. So I have mentioned before that I plan on investing my own money to produce this game hub and casino down the road. And that's why my focus has gone from Tyrant Empire to my e-commerce businesses. So not only will I be able to, do this full time, but I can also bring some of that money over here and produce it all with my own money. So there's no risk for the investors, and then we can just continue our project. On that note as well, the project is still in a weird limbo state. However, there have been, I mentioned this in a previous episode, but the record label aspect, I personally halted because we've had quite a few people reach out, but there was no one musically inclined that I would be willing to sign because everyone's music needed a lot of work, and I could have easily just, signed these people and then just pump their music out, but that would not have been ideal for our brand, and it would have just kind of been a cash grab, and it could have just been one big failure. So I've halted the record label aspect, halted digital production, and then with the band I mentioned before, they've kind of gone dark. Excuse me. And I've reached out to them a number of times, and they keep, letting me know. They keep telling me that it's someone else that they're waiting on, or they're waiting on this. So they're not really throwing me a bone. They're just kind of just leading me on. So I haven't really been on top of that because I just know that it's just going to be a snipe hunt, more or less. When they do reach out, I will, finish producing what we were making for them, and then obviously I'll let you guys know. But it's been a while since I've spoken on that, and it's definitely still on the table, but we're waiting on a number of things, and it's just been one giant headache, so I've just kind of disregarded it. But yeah, Game Hub still on the table, Casino still on the table, the band partnership still on the table, and they've also, before they went not completely dark, but before they lacked, day-to-day communication, they mentioned that they have a bunch of influencers who need work done, but it's just been a bunch of bullshit happening lately, especially with, team members leaving who were extremely talented, and everything going on in my real life and, work and just a bunch of stuff. So just want to, focus this episode on Tyrant Empire, because hopefully, sir, if you're watching this is mainly for you, because you have not really, responded to any of my responses, but that's fine. Hopefully this puts some of your concerns at ease. If not, let me know. I would love to either, host a live session in Telegram or Discord, or, just keep sending each other messages. So whatever works for you works for me. But on that note, keep it kind of short and sweet as usual. It is now 8:40, and yeah, it's been quite a day. A lot of good stuff has happened, but yeah, business is picking up again, and still feeling optimistic. A little sad today, but it's nothing I can't get through. So that said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.